Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, it's quite clear and has been for quite some time in my involvement with this project that council is going to support this. It's baked in, and they've been avoiding the bigger problem with lower income households and real diversification of our housing. But there are options of rent geared to income. There were some new ideas about rent to own that should and could be included in this particular project or should be considered in this project. And the very fact that the project has advanced this far is largely because there was only one solution that has been promoted since it's gone to public consultation, and that's unfortunate. And to kick the can down the road and say, well, we can consider some of these other ideas later on, simply isn't good enough. You know, I was looking over our annual report, and it quoted our vision statement, and we're supposed to be a place of excellence. We don't water down our wine. That's at least the aspirational goals. And when we do have opportunities, and we also have very limited resources, we talk about being able to purpose some of our municipal lands for housing, and we can do that. But we really have to work very, very hard to get the maximum benefit out of all of this that we have, because it is a limited resource. And the solution that we're proposing isn't a sustainable one. A more sustainable one would be something that had housing that the district built and actually gained income from in providing for their residents. That's one option. What we have here, and the presentation was interesting, and I appreciate everyone's sentiments in this whole affair, but we've got two projects and almost two solitudes. It's classic. My impression from the Kiwanis presentation, quite frankly, it's an ugly building. And it's an ugly building because it's cheaped down because we've only got so much money to spend to achieve those goals that we have. And it's going to be sitting right beside a luxury condo building that we're selling, that we vowed at the beginning of this council term we would never build luxury condos because that's not what we need. But we're doing it to recoup the money. Councillor Soprovich said it's not about money. Well, in part it is, because the majority of council decided that yes, this is what we should do, is we should recoup that money. But in the course of doing that, there are still options with that private sector strata condo development to introduce some programs for affordable housing, but that's not going to happen. So everything is going in generally a right direction, but we have never ever in my term on council had established or worked on serious housing policy for this community. We don't know what it is. There's a hell of a lot of virtue signaling going on about, what we should be doing and how wonderful it can be. We started out with essential service workers and we wanted to keep them in our community. Good idea. Never really proven how many of the police and fire and teachers wanted to be here. Some did, some didn't. Did it justify a project? Who knows? And it kind of morphed into workforce housing and whatever that happened to be. And then when the numbers were penciled out, oh, too bad, we can't afford to support the baristas and so on. Well, why not? Well, because we can't afford to do that in the scheme that we had. And why couldn't we do that? Well, we've never taken advantage of any senior level of government housing programs. And why don't we do that? The only reason I can think of is that because part of the equation is that there would be some housing that's devoted to critical core housing or deep, what they call deep core housing need. In other words, poor people. And I somehow get the sense in this community that we want to provide more attainable housing, but we don't want to go that extra step to provide housing for the people that we are saying that can't get here, that live in Burnaby and so on. So I think it's a bit of a farce, but end of rant. I, I appreciate what we're trying to do with this project, but on principle, I can't support it tonight. I know I'm going to be in the minority.
All right. Anyone else? Just a sec, Councillor Cameron, see if anyone that hasn't spoken. Councillor Thompson?
I've got a few things to say, but I know Councillor Cameron's eager to respond, so I'd like to hear that first.
Sorry, you're on mute, Councillor Cameron.
Councillor Thompson can go first.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd really be curious to see what Councillor Cameron says before I speak.
Chance to speak, and then you'll lose it.
Sorry, you're cutting out a little bit. Councillor Thompson, please proceed. Councillor Cameron is he's speaking second, so I have the discretion to go to him after you.
Yeah, fair enough. He likes to have the last word. So I have to applaud the eloquence in the room from the audience. They're all good thoughts and effort, and it's where I'm coming from. It's not that I'm waiting for that
unicorn?
Pardon me?
Unicorn?
Anyway, my stand on this project is from the beginning. I have tried to push for more, and it just hasn't been able to make it to the table. I feel it's important for me to relay to the public that, at my own peril, I was not able to compel our group to consider something more like a rent-to-own project, and I just really feel that's something we should be trying to provide in our community. I do have concerns. Our primary jobs that has been said a number of times is to manage our lands and our budgets, and I do have some concerns on how this is going out, which it's just as simple as that. But I know the Kiwanis do a tremendous job on the North Shore, as well as our other housing groups here tonight. We value them tremendously. I know there's been a lot of work done by staff, and council has invested a lot of time in this and discussions, and it just didn't get to where I want to go. And it would be very easy to say, just get behind it. We know it's going to go through, and I'm excited for it. I look forward to seeing it roll out into the market and see how it fills up, and what sort of discoveries we make about that and our housing needs. I think that's going to be one of the best parts of the project. So that's all I have to say.
All right, Councillor Cameron.
I just think that I don't want to leave the stench of Councillor Lambert's words lingering in the air, and words such as farce.
Point of order, Councillor Cameron.
Such as farce and virtue signaling.
Point of order,
These are deeply.
Hold on.
It's not. These are deeply insulting terms.
Councillor Cameron is
Madam
speaking.
Mayor.
No,
Madam Mayor,
Councillor Lambert.
That's a personal attack. He cannot do that.
I think your words stink. I'm allowed to say that.
Any comment that
I think the
Councillor
sentiments are misguided. They're
Hold
self-serving,
on.
and they're disingenuous.
One at a time. Councillor Lambert, I let you.
Where would you like me to start, Councillor Lambert?
Hold on. Councillor Cameron, hold on. Councillor Lambert, you did make some disparaging comments that I let you let go.
Did I make them towards any particular member of council?
Fair enough. Councillor Cameron.
So he talks about the stench of what I was talking about. Look, I've had it. This is the problem with this council.
Who is speaking?
Councillor Lambert.
Who is speaking now? I believe.
Hold on.
If you cannot manage this meeting, Madam Mayor, which you apparently cannot.
Councillor Lambert, if you can't manage your temper,
I am leaving this
perhaps
meeting.
you should seek different work.
Maybe you should leave, Councillor Lambert, if you have a problem. Thank you.
Goodbye, Councillor Lambert. It's addition by subtraction, thankfully. I want to make it clear that this is not a farce. This is not worth virtue signaling. And it's quite frankly insulting to talk about delivering affordable housing for people in this community as a farce. There's a universe of potential projects that could be advanced. There isn't anyone at this council who has seriously advanced any alternatives. And the alternatives that have been discussed behind closed doors were discarded for good reasons by council vote. So it's very easy to say, well, it could be better, it should be better, and make vague allusions to some unicorn or mythical creature. But the point is, this is a real project. It's a bird in the hand. It meets so many needs. Is it perfect? No. And do you have to vote for it? Absolutely not. But to call it a farce and virtue signaling is deeply insulting to the people who need housing, the staff who've worked on this, the public who have spoken up about it. And I'm not going to sit here and let that kind of garbage go unanswered. I'm sorry. It's not. You don't have to agree with this project, but this is a well-meaning attempt to address a problem. And we can't afford to sit there and pick lint out of our navel for years and years on end and say we're doing something and actually do nothing. And so I'm happy that we're doing something. I think this is a good project. Is it perfect? No. But it's the best alternative that we've come up with through the process.